Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Books and Books. We are live here from Coral Gables. Sorry, what'd you say? Can you hear me? Thank you all so much for joining us here at Books and Books this afternoon. We're very happy to have you all with us. Don't worry, I just checked the National Weather Service. Erica has been downgraded to a Category 1 car wash. So you can take your shutters down and take all that water back to Target if you'd like. Again, we're very happy. Welcome to Books and Books. This is provided with the generous support of the Knight Foundation. To our internet audience watching, if at any time during tonight's presentation you'd like to order a copy of tonight's books, you can do so by calling the number on your screen. We'll get a book autograph for you, and we'll ship it to you free of charge anywhere here in the United States. For those of you here, please silence your cell phones. You are allowed to take photographs, but do not use a flash because that'll interrupt the flow of the live stream cameras. We appreciate that. You'll also see the cameras around the store. We are photographing the audience for the Q&A portion of the event later on. So in the event of those folks of yours that you know that might be watching online, just make sure that you're sitting next to who you're supposed to be sitting next to. We also archive all of these events, so if you missed it today, you can watch yourself again. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to give us your email address when you go to our website at booksandbooks.com. We'll keep you apprised of all the events we have going on, past, present, and future. You can also pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter on the counter. Tonight, we're very happy to have with us and her latest book. To introduce her, we have a dear old friend of the store, actually a former employee. I don't know why we ever let her go, but she is here this evening. Please welcome, from Books and Books, Becky Quiroga Curtis.
Good evening. As Steve said, I'm Becky Quiroga, former employee here at Books and Books. And I first met Christina at a conference of children's book writers and illustrators. And I was actually reading The Red Umbrella at the time. And as soon as I finished it, I was crying hysterically, and I ran up to her and just hugged her and thanked her for contributing such an important book to children's literature. And I became a huge fan of hers, and I'm obviously not the only one, because The Red Umbrella went on to win numerous awards, including the ALA Best Fiction for Young Adults, the Florida Book Award, the Nebraska Book Award, the Indies Top 10 Next List, and a handful of state reading lists. Christina's second book, A Thunderous Whisper, won the International Latino Book Award, was named a notable social studies book by the Children's Book Council, and was featured in the Scholastic Book Fair in spring of 2014. Now, some of the downsides of no longer working here, I had to wait until the book actually came out to buy my copy, so I have yet to read it. And the other thing is that I had to pay for the book. But I gladly did, because I love supporting amazing authors and amazing independent bookstores. So I encourage you all to purchase your copy here as well. Without further ado, to present her latest book, Moving Target, I'm honored to introduce Christina Diaz Gonzalez.
My favorite bookstore ever. They have hosted every one of my book launches, and they are just so supportive of all the authors that come through here. So I want to give a big round of applause to Books and Books. And I also want to thank all of you, the people that are in my life, my family, friends, students, teachers that I've visited, people who may have gotten caught and not able to exit because so many of you are here today. Thank you all for being here and being so supportive. You are actually making a little girl who at one point was 10 years old, sitting up in a treehouse, dreaming of being an author. Those dreams come true by being here. So thank you so much. And so let me tell you a little bit about Moving Target, because like Becky said, the book just came out, and most of you know very little about the story. The story is about a young 8th grade girl, Cassie Arroyo, who is an American girl studying in Rome with her art history professor father. And for her, life at the beginning is kind of boring. Even though she's in Rome, she's moved around quite a bit. And then suddenly everything changes. Her father is whisking her away. There are car chases. Someone's after them. And lo and behold, she finds herself in the middle of a mystery, something dating back to biblical times. And there are assassins, secret organizations, myths and legends, riddles that she has to solve. And it really all boils down to one object that she needs to find. And that's the object called the Spear of Destiny. And just a couple days ago, I mentioned what the book was about to a friend. And I was talking about the Spear of Destiny. And this person kind of gave me a little bit of a funny look, like, well, that's kind of a dramatic name to come up, even for a middle grade book, Spear of Destiny. And when I explained that the Spear of Destiny is actually a real object, then they became fascinated, just like I did when I first heard about it. The Spear of Destiny is an actual object. It's the spear that a Roman soldier had. And it's that Roman soldier that pierces Jesus on the cross. And that spear is also called the Lance of Longinus. I personally had never heard of that. And it wasn't until my family and I, a few years ago, were on vacation in Rome. And we decided that we wanted to go, of course, to the Vatican. And we had tickets for a papal mass. And we got there early, as did probably 1,000 other people. And there were several lines going in different directions. And we had no clue where our tickets meant that we had to stand. So we were looking around St. Peter's Square, trying to figure it out, and I saw this friendly face walking across, and so for some reason he stood out. And he was young, and he had a priest's collar, and I thought, perfect person to ask where we should go. So I walked right over to him, and I asked the question I would always ask everyone in Italy: do you speak English or Espanol? Hoping that maybe one of the two languages would work. And he just paused for a moment, stared at me, and then said, American? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I'm from Tennessee! He was a seminarian from Tennessee. He was so happy to meet fellow Americans. And he had been studying there, I think it was about a year. And I told him, well, we just have no idea where we're supposed to go. He goes, don't worry. I come here almost on a daily basis. Follow me. And he gave us almost like an exclusive Vatican tour. He took us in, started showing us all the artwork, little-known stories of a certain altarpiece and where it came from. He even got us on the 11th row to see the Pope. We weren't first row, but we were pretty close. But while we were walking over towards the front of the altar, he pointed to an alcove to the left. And there was this huge statue of a woman. And he explains that it was Veronica with her veil. And that treasure is in the vaults underneath the Vatican. And then he pointed to the right. And there was another huge statue of a Roman soldier holding a spear. And he mentioned that it was Longinus, the Roman soldier who had, again, pierced Jesus on the cross. And how he had converted and become an actual saint of the church. And how, he went into this wonderful thing about forgiveness and finding your way. And I thought, what a lovely story. Can we go on and see the Pope? Didn't think twice about it. And then, as a result, life goes on. I end up writing my first book, The Red Umbrella. Then I go on, write the second book, Thunderous Whisper. And as I'm writing Thunderous Whisper, I start doing research, because in that book, it's Hitler's bombing of the city of Guernica. And I learned something interesting about Hitler, that all those Indiana Jones movies where Hitler sends out expeditions to go look for things like the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail, those were based on fact. he was obsessed with acquiring certain religious objects. And those movies dealt with two of them, but they never discussed the third one that he was after, the Spear of Destiny. Now, here it comes again, crossing my path, and I was really intrigued. I wanted to find out, why was he so interested in the Spear of Destiny? And as it turns out, legend says that whoever possesses the Spear of Destiny can control the future, can control their destiny. And so leaders, it said, such as Charlemagne, would carry it into battle. And for a while, the spear was lost for about 800 years. And then some countries said they have it. You know, Austria said they have it. Armenia says they have it. The Vatican says, don't worry, we have it in the vault. But it made me start thinking, well, what if no one really has it? And what if it's not just anyone who can change destiny? What if you have to be a descendant of that original Roman soldier? And what if you not only have to be a descendant, but you have to have a birthmark in the shape of a spear? And that's when the wheels started turning. That's when I started coming up with Moving Target, about a girl who does have this birthmark, but she doesn't know it. She doesn't know she's one of the last people on earth that if she finds this spear, if she possesses this spear, can actually control the future, her destiny as well as the world's destiny. But there's a secret organization that will do anything to stop her. And that's where the conflict comes in. Will she find the spear before they find her? And if she finds the spear, what will she do with it? What would you do with it if you could control destiny? And that pretty much sums up what's written in the front flap of the book. So I haven't given away any spoilers. There's a lot of twists and turns in the book. But something that's written on the back, I think, is very important. And it's a saying that's in the book. And one of the sayings that she's told from the very beginning by someone she happens to meet is, choices determine destiny. And I think that's very true for all of us. Our choices can determine our own destiny. And it can be small choices, like running across St. Peter's Square to a friendly face, to a friendly seminarian and asking for directions. Or it can be bigger choices that can change not only your immediate destiny, but the destiny of future generations, of your future family, which made me stop and think, going back to my first book, and how choices like the ones my grandparents made, of sending their children, along with many people here that I know and love, and over 14,000 kids sent to the U.S. by themselves. That choice didn't just alter their destiny, it altered their children's children, their grandchildren, all future generations. One choice determines destiny. And as a matter of fact, I think there's several here. If you are related or if you are one of those children, I would love right now if you would just stand up and I could recognize you, just like my parents changed my destiny. Because of that choice, it changed the destiny of almost 14,000 families. So you never know, big or small, how your choices will affect the future. And a very small choice that you made today of coming here affects my future because I am forever thankful for all of you to show up. So with that being said, since I've read a little bit about the back and the inside flap, I am going to read a small excerpt from the book. I can't read too much, so it's from the first chapter, because like I said, there's a lot of twists and turns and spoilers, and people you think are good may be bad, people who are bad may be good. So I cannot give too much away, but At this point in the book, Cassie has been picked up at school from her her father has picked her up from school, and he's driving very erratically through the streets of Rome. She doesn't understand why he's interrupted her school day. She just has no idea what is going on. So here we go. What's going on? I asked again. We don't keep secrets from each other. Remember? He stopped at the next red light and turned to face me, but didn't say anything. He just stared as if he could telepathically relay all sorts of information to me. Are you in some sort of trouble? I asked. No, they won't hurt us if I... Hurt us? I interrupted. Who would hurt us? What are you talking about? He took a deep breath and ran his fingers through his hair. Don't worry. I'm going to fix things, he said in a voice barely above a whisper. My stomach felt queasy. Papi, I don't know what you've done, but you have to call the police or the embassy. I pulled my cell phone out of my bag. No! He snatched the phone and threw it on the floor. I was shocked into silence. I'm sorry, Cassie, he said in a calmer voice. We can't contact anyone. They have people everywhere. He shook his head. I'd planned on talking to you about this since you were little. He paused for a moment. It just never seemed like the right time. Gregorio was right. Since I was little? What are you saying? Who's Gregorio? There's so much to tell you, he muttered. He wasn't making any sense. Papi, you're acting like you're about to say something crazy. Like we're in the witness protection program or... I paused. My by-the-book father was not a criminal, but he was certainly capable of having testified against one. Is that it? Did you rat someone out? Is this something from when you lived in Cuba? Beep, beep. Startled, I glared at the man in the tiny two-seater car behind us. The light had just changed to green a fraction of a second earlier. Hold on, I shouted back at him. The response I got was another long beep. Face forward and don't make eye contact, Cassie, with anyone. We were already crossing the intersection, blending in with the average insanity of Rome drivers. In the distance, I could see the dome of the Vatican, but I had no idea where we were headed. I gripped the sides of my seat as we swerved across several lanes and cut in front of a small delivery truck, making a sharp left onto Ponte Garibaldi to cross the Tiber River. Everything will be fine, Cassie. My dad kept his focus on the road, with only occasional glances in the rearview mirror. Don't worry. I'm taking care of things. It's just very complicated. So uncomplicated, I shouted, losing my patience. It's a long story. He shook his head and started to mumble to himself. I just didn't think they'd trace the calls back to me. I thought I'd been careful. I only needed a little more time to find it. He checked the rearview mirror. Okay, I guess it's time you knew. It starts with the Hastati. My father slowed the car and veered into a narrow cobblestoned alleyway that was lined with boarded up apartment buildings. The what? You're not making any sense. The Hastati. They're a secret organization. He abruptly stopped the car in front of a building tagged with graffiti and checkered with peeling posters for concerts that had come to Rome months earlier. But I'll explain it all as soon as I'm done here. Just stay in the car. Stay here? What are we doing here? I'm getting us out of Italy. I just need to pick up some passports. We already have passports, Papi. This is crazy. Listen, he grabbed me by the shoulders. This is serious. I need you to stay down and out of sight until I get back. As my father slid out of the car, he lifted the back of his suit jacket and pulled out a gun. What the? I stared at the weapon as he placed it on the seat. Have you gone completely insane? You're safer in the car. Stay put and don't use the gun unless you absolutely have to. I'll be back in less than 5 minutes. No way. I grabbed his sleeve before he could fully get out of the car. There was no chance I'd touch that gun. And since when did my dad even own one? You tell me right now what's going on. My father scanned the empty alley. Cassie, mija, we don't have time. I don't care. Either you tell me what you did or I'm... He pried my fingers off his sleeve. I swear to you that I didn't do anything. Just lock the doors and stay out of sight. My eyes jumped from him to the gun. Everything I knew about my father completely evaporated. Someone's after you, and there has to be a reason for it. Tell me. It's not me, Cass. He rubbed his face before giving me a look filled with dread. It's you, he sighed. Cassie, the Hastati are after you. And that's the end of chapter 1. So, at this point in the evening's entertainment, I am going to open it up to question and answers. If anyone has any questions about Moving Target, what I just read, or about any of my books in general, I would love to answer them. And don't be shy. I know that we have an overflow room with a lot of students, but yes.
Was it hard to make the decision to switch from writing historical fiction to writing a more present-day adventure story?
It was difficult in the sense that since my first two books were historical fiction, when you're writing historical fiction, you almost have an automatic outline because these were the chronological series of events that happened, and you have to be true to them, even if the characters and some of the situations are fictional. With this one, I only had one nugget of truth, that the Spear of Destiny actually exists. And then everything else was up to me. So it was almost that freedom, which was liberating, but at the same time very intimidating. Because where was I going to go with this story? And it was intimidating at first, but once I decided to do it, it was incredible. Because this is the type of story I loved to read as a kid growing up. And I'll admit it's the type of story I love reading now. Something that's full of action and adventure and twists and turns and riddles, and every time you think you know what's going on, something throws you for a loop and you start questioning things again. So it was difficult, but definitely rewarding, and I love writing both styles. So I know someone else had a question. Yes?
Have they found the spear yet?
Have they found the spear? Great question. Great question. Well, in real life, the spear is supposedly underneath the Vatican in the Vatican vaults. There are some countries, like Armenia, who say they have it. And before World War II, Austria said they had it. And urban legend says Hitler took it after he invaded Austria. And that is why he rose to such prominence. But that is an urban legend. There's no real fact to that. And right now, no one has seen the real spear. So we just have to take the Vatican's word for it that they have it safely tucked away somewhere. Yes?
Is your book available electronically?
Is the book available electronically? Yes. The book is available electronically and in hardcover here. Both ways. All the books are available electronically. I think nowadays almost every book is available electronically as well.
The time frame in which the storage
Takes place?
yeah.
It takes place in present day.
No, time frame.
Oh, how much time?
No, the year that is happening. This
That moving target?
1980.
Nope, now, right now, present day. It could be, if you're reading it, it would be August 29th. It doesn't say exactly the date, but it's contemporary. So whenever you're reading it, hopefully there'll be kids reading it maybe 20 years from now, and there's that reference about her pulling out a cell phone, and they'll be like, cell phone? What's a cell phone? But for right now, it's contemporary. All the way in the back.
You divulge Cassie's age, and how did that affect her actions?
Cassie is, her real name is Cassandra. They call her Cassie. Cassie is in 8th grade, so she's right there, 12, 13 years old. And it changes her actions because she's limited in what she can do. She obviously isn't mature enough to really just go off by herself as you would expect, an 18-year-old to do. But because of the circumstances of the book, she's thrust into a situation where she does have to behave a lot of times like someone much older. And because she's lived so many places, she has a little bit more of world experience than the average 12-year-old girl, perhaps living in Coral Gables. Yes.
Did you come up with the name Hastati, and also would you be able to tell us anything more about the Hastati without like spoiling anything?
Okay, so yes. So it's a two-part question. Hastati is the name of the secret organization, and by giving a little bit away, because you guys deserve to get a little bit of information for coming out here, and for those on the internet watching, the Hastati is a secret organization that was established long, long ago, medieval times, even maybe before, that their whole purpose was to protect the spear. Protect the spear, protect those who control the spear. But in the book, the spear has gone missing. And because the Hastati had always protected the spear, and now they've lost it and cannot find it, they are so afraid that the spear might fall into the wrong hands, to the hands of a terrorist organization. And they can't find the spear, so they have to do what almost goes against their founding principle, but that's they can't protect the spear, they have to protect the world from the spear's power. And that means eliminate anyone who could possibly use it. Means eliminate Cassie. So that is why they are going after her. The Hastati is a fictional organization, as far as I know. The Hastati I came up with because Hastati is actually the name of the Roman soldiers back in the time that would be in the front lines that would carry the spears. Those were called Hastati. And in doing some research, I discovered that, and the moment I read Hastati, I thought, forget that. What a cool name for an organization, a secret organization that no one knows, yet controls so much of the future. Because they would choose who could control the future and destiny, or if anyone could. So that's how I came up with it, and that tells you a little bit about it. So they're not necessarily bad, but they're going to be doing bad things. Other question? Yes?
What inspires you to write books? Like, how do you know what to write for your next book?
So what inspires me to write books? And I never know. I never know what will inspire me next. I think that's one of the great things when you're a kid. Everything is new, and you're so open and interested in everything, and you're not set in your ways. And I think part of me almost never grew up in that sense. I'm always fascinated with tiny little stories, and a lot of times I just find them very interesting and I file it away. And then it's almost like they start growing in my imagination all by themselves. When I first wrote The Red Umbrella, it's a story basically of my family. It was a story I already knew, and I was not paying attention to it. But it was someone else's story that sparked my realization of, oh, wow, there is this great story being told that isn't being told, that I've been told, yet it's not being shared. With Thunderous Whisper, it was a painting, Pablo Picasso's painting, and my lack of knowledge of art and wanting to find out more. And I read about Hitler's bombing, and I became fascinated. And then I stumbled across a picture of an old sardinera. And when I saw her face all, cranky and angry looking, I thought about how horrible would it be to be her daughter. And that idea sprung into life into Thunderous Whisper. And this one, again, it was just being open and being receptive to stories that you hear and little nuggets of information. Last night, I was talking to someone and they were telling me about genetics. And I thought, they were telling me little tidbits of information that I had never heard of, and I was fascinated. Will that be in a story? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just always on the lookout for any story that just sparks my imagination. Okay. Other questions?
I have a comment. Okay, don't start reading this book if you want to go to sleep. I About 3 chapters and had to put it down because it was not.
When I'm writing, I will tell you a secret. I always, when I'm writing, I try to imagine someone late at night, many times a kid, reading the book, maybe under their covers, using their cell phone as a flashlight. Their parents told them to go to bed. And they're thinking, one more chapter, and I'm going to put it down. And so I always, many times, try to get that chapter where they're like, oh, I got to read now the next chapter because I got to find out what happens next. So I love stories that evolve like that. And so many times I try to write like that.
So my question actually is this part of a series?
Yes.
Beginning of a series? Okay.
Yes, this is the beginning of a series. Many of the questions raised in the book will be answered, but one or two perhaps will be raised at the end. So yes, there will be a follow-up book next year. So, which has already been almost fully written. If my editor is watching this on internet, it's written, don't worry. But yes, I think I saw a question.
I know that a lot of students in school have adopted the Red Umbrella into their reading program. I know St. Brennan is doing it this year, and I've worked with you for many years in other schools. What has been the feedback on the kids that probably never even knew that Pedro Pan existed, and they're the age of the kids that were sent along? I'm curious to what the reaction was.
You know what? The reaction's been great, and it's always amazing to me the connection the kids have to reading about kids their age, very similar to them, being sent to the U.S. And I think it develops an empathy, not only for what these 14,000 Cuban kids coming over in the 60s went through, but about perhaps people in their class that just recently came to the U.S. from another country. And it's also interesting in a community like Miami, where you have so many children coming in from other countries, Venezuela, just anywhere, and they read it and they're seeing their story. Even though they're not Cuban, they relate to it. And I love the fact that I also get to share it with, it's been on state reading lists in Oregon, and all those children are reading about it. And it's nice to see them not think of it as, oh, it's a story about those people coming over from Cuba, because they see it as a story of the U.S., which was always my intent. It was always my intent to show these Cuban children, but also to show how the U.S. can open themselves and welcome these children, and that the U.S. is this generous land that did this and accepted these families, took these children in. And so it's always very heartwarming and wonderful to see that reception from teachers who are excited to teach a part of, American history that is not really known. And children seeing it as, a lot of them just see it as a great story. Then they go back and have to read the author's note, and the teacher has to tell them, oh, it really happened. That's why it's called historical fiction. Those 14,000 kids, they all came over. So it's great that they enjoy the story and they get immersed in the story, and then they realize, oh, it's true. That really did happen. So it's probably one of my greatest sources of pride as an author, is being able to tell the Operation Pedro Pan story to so many kids. Other questions? Okay, well, I have a question for you. I decided when I did my invite, I said I was going to do a few little giveaways. And then I started thinking, oh no, there's going to be a lot of people. How am I going to give anything away? If I start having people look under their chair, there's going to be chairs flipping all over the place. So I decided that my sister knows this is true. Growing up, we love, Jeopardy and trivia. My cousin right now is going, oh, Lord, I lost. But immediate family's disqualified. Anyway, I'm going to ask a couple questions. I have 3 prizes, And they're not that difficult. They're about my prior 2 books, because I don't expect anyone to have read this if I ask you a question. Hopefully you'll buy it, and next time when the sequel comes out, you'll all know the answers. But we'll start rather simple. Who can tell me in the red umbrella the name of the city that Lucia is sent to? I know it's hard. That's why it's trivia. Kind of hard. Okay. I've disqualified my... Okay.
Montana.
Omaha? Nope. Close. Grand Island. Yes, we have a winner. And you may come get your prize. She is getting 3 hard copies of all 3 books and the red umbrella. The red umbrella hardcover is no longer being sold. So the red umbrella hardcover is no longer being sold, so that was quite the valuable prize. So another question. We'll see if someone can answer this one. This will be a little easier because I gave away the answer earlier. In A Thunderous Whisper, what was the name of the artist that inspired me? That inspired me, that did the painting. Pablo Picasso, that's it. So, what she gets relates to Moving Target. In Moving Target, there are 2 notebooks that contain very valuable information, very important information. One is brown and one is blue. I have 2 very old-looking notebooks that have a compass on them and everything, a brown and a blue. I'm giving you the choice. Which would you like to choose? The blue it is. Any guesses what the final prize is going to be? One last question. Again, I gave this answer also. And in fact, I'm going to choose a different question. And I'm going to say, in this book, the main character goes by a nickname, which is, you can read it right in the cover. What is her real name? Cassandra.
Wait a minute, I asked her first.
You have to raise your hand. Okay, well, I want to thank, again, all of you for coming here. There are pre-signed books for those who don't want to make the line. I believe there are some pre-signed books, but I will be signing books in the other room, in the overflow room. Hello, overflow room people. I will be headed your way. And again, thank you so much. There's complimentary Italian wine or apple juice outside. There's cannolis in honor of the book taking place in Italy. And there's Cuban pastries because she's a Cubanita. What can you do? Thank you, guys.
Folks, if I can keep everybody just seated for just a moment. Can everybody just keep your seats for just a moment? I want to get Christina a chance to get out of the room before she gets mobbed. She's going to be signing over on the other side. And again, we thank you. If you're watching online, don't forget to call us. Also, I forgot to mention early on, before we started, pick up your tickets. We've got Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson coming up. We have Chelsea Clinton has a book. We've got tickets on sale for that. And Rick Riordan is coming as well. We have tickets on sale for that. Buy your copies of the book right there. Christina's signing over there. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.